Oh, should I go to the reunion or not? I ponder, holding an invitation postcard in my hand. Still undecided, my husband Damien asks, and I hum in response. There are people I really don't want to see, but also people I absolutely want to catch up with. I'm Michelle, 50 years old, living with Damien, who's 7 years my senior, and our college sophomore daughter, Caroline. Recently, an invitation to my high school reunion arrived. Back in high school, my family was fairly well off. My parents, who valued education, sent me to a prestigious private school. I loved studying and consistently ranked at the top of my class. But there was Justina, a classmate who saw me as a rival and picked fights with me for no reason. Both of Justina's parents were doctors, and she came from a family of high achievers. She always had a group of followers around her, and she exuded an air of authority. From the start, I had zero interest in Justina's bragging about her family's background. Because I found her annoying and brushed her off, I ended up on her blacklist of people she disliked. And to make matters worse, I always outperformed her academically, which seemed to infuriate her the most. She and her clique would look down on me, but I was too busy with my studies to care. Everything changed during my senior year. My dad suddenly disappeared. My mom wouldn't give me the details, but I knew it involved another woman. He took all our savings and vanished without a trace. Since my mom's main source of income had been my dad, it became impossible to cover living expenses and the high tuition fees on her income alone. Somehow, Justina got wind of my situation and took the opportunity to taunt me. "Did your dad run off with another woman?" "That's none of your business." "Oh, but it is. We're classmates. I'm just worried." "Can you even afford to stay in school now? You must be too poor to focus on your studies." Her fake concern was transparent as she and her clique smirked and relished my discomfort. "Do you want me to ask my dad to help you out financially?" "I don't need your help. Leave me alone." Her words dug into my already fragile emotional state. I was angry at my dad and anxious about the future, and I couldn't focus on my studies, which had been my lifeline. My mom managed to keep us afloat by dipping into her savings. Despite searching everywhere, we never found my dad. Seeing my mom struggle, I decided to drop out of school just before summer break. I felt I couldn't burden her with my problems, so I never cried in front of her. "Miss Hannah, I've decided to leave school." I first shared my decision with Miss Hannah, who had been a great support since my life turned upside down. "I don't know what to do now. All I've ever done is study. It feels like all my hard work has been for nothing." For the first time, I broke down in tears. Miss Hannah comforted me, saying, "There's no such thing as a wasted experience in life. You can always turn into something positive. If you're ever struggling, come talk to me." Her support was invaluable to me at the time. The sense of security that I felt knowing that there was someone with whom I could whisper and cry wasn't a replaceable emotional support for me at that time. Later, Miss Hannah moved abroad after getting married. We kept in touch through postcards and letters for a few years, but eventually lost contact due to our busy lives. Yet, I still think of her and she remains an important person to me. Now it seems Miss Hannah will be attending the reunion during a visit back to the country. I could see Miss Hannah if I go to the reunion, but Justina might be there too. but the desire to see Miss Hannah won out, and I decided to attend. The day of the reunion arrived. The venue was a fancy restaurant. I arrived a bit late, and the reunion was already in full swing. Everyone was chatting with old classmates. Scanning the room, I noticed an elegant woman with beautiful gray hair at the center of the crowd. It was Miss Hannah. Just as I was contemplating whether to approach her, a voice I recognized and wished I hadn't rang out. "Well, well, if it isn't Michelle!" Darn it. Caught off guard, I turned to see Justina, still as flamboyant as ever, decked out in gaudy makeup and flashy jewelry. Playing coy? Oh, maybe dropping off made you forgetful. Justina approached me, her tone as condescending as ever. "Look, I didn't come here to see you. Excuse me." Feeling nauseated, I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm and said, "Wait, it's been a while. Let's catch up." Reluctantly, I found myself seated at a corner table with her. "So, what have you been up to since you dropped out?" "I've been working part-time jobs." "How resilient. I would have been crushed. Maybe you were always destined to be poor." "What are you talking about?" "So where did you work?" "Various places. Restaurants, convenience stores. Eventually, I moved out into the apparel industry." "Wow, uncharted territory. And you, in fashion? Are you sure about your taste? I always shop at Brand D.O. My husband owns a luxury store, you know." I didn't even want to talk, but her forcefulness made me respond. Her entourage cheered her on. I didn't want to waste my precious time with Miss Hannah on this nonsense. Just as I was about to stand up and leave, she asked, "By the way, did you ever find your dad?" Her abrupt question made me freeze. No, I stopped looking. "Well, let me fill you in." "What?" "Your dad moved from place to place after running off. He tried to start anew in Anchorage, but the woman left him. Now he's living a lonely life." My head spun with this sudden information. "How do you know all this?" Justina smirked. "Because the woman he ran off with was set up by my dad. I asked him to ruin your family." I was stunned. "What are you saying?" My voice trembled. "I arranged for a woman to seduce your dad. I never thought he'd actually disappear, though." "Why would you do such a thing?" "Because you were an eyesore. You ruined my family and my life for that? Look, your dad chose to leave. If you're going to blame someone, blame him." I was speechless. Seeing my silence, a triumphant Justina continued. "But hey, I saw in the directory that you changed your last name. You got married, right? Good for you. So, who's the lucky guy? Probably some poor sap, huh? You do have that poor vibe." Feeling defeated, I could only sit in silence. "Hey, why don't you have your husband pick you up today? I'm curious to see who he is." Unable to bear Justina's mocking laughter, I stood up and rushed out. I should just go home. That's what I was thinking as I headed from the exit when I heard, "Michelle!" I turned around to see Miss Hannah's warm smile. "Miss Hannah!" I found myself crying again in front of her. Miss Hannah and I sat on a bench outside and talked. "I'm sorry for crying as soon as I saw you." "Don't be. I'm just happy to see you. Actually, I requested that you be invited." "Really? I never got an invitation before because I dropped out." I was worried you might not come, but I'm so glad you did. I came because I heard you would be here." Miss Hannah listened as I updated her on my life. Talking to her made the crushing feelings from earlier disappear. I thought about telling her what I'd heard from Justina, but I didn't want to ruin this wonderful time. "I have to go soon. I'm sorry for taking up your precious time." "Don't be. I was looking forward to this." Miss Hannah's smile gave me the same sense of comfort and strength as it always had. After saying goodbye, I returned to the venue with renewed determination. I quickly approached Justina, who was still chatting with her entourage. "Back already? I thought you'd run off." "You said you wanted to meet my husband. He's here to pick me up, so I'll introduce you." "How exciting! My husband is about to arrive too. We should introduce them." Outside, our husbands were already talking. "Sorry to keep you waiting. Michelle, this is my husband Drake. He owns a brand shop." Before she could finish, Drake interrupted. "Wow, you're Damien's wife? You're as elegant and beautiful as I'd heard." "Wait, President?" Justina was stunned. Drake, who runs one of the companies that sells Damien's brands, introduced himself and thanked Damien. Drake runs one of Damien's brand name sales companies. Damien spoke to Justina, who was froze in disbelief. "Sorry for the late introduction. I'm Damien Owen of D.O. Company." "D.O. Company? As in the brand D.O.? Justina's eyes widened. "Yes, D.O. is our main brand." Justina was flustered, and I couldn't help but smile. "So, are you satisfied now?" "Oh, I'm surprised you're a CEO's wife, and what a wonderful husband you have." Her voice trembled, perhaps trying to hide her agitation with a strange laugh. "Thank you. Sorry he's not the poor husband you were expecting." "The poor husband I was expecting?" Drake looked puzzled. "Stop, don't say weird things. It was a joke." "Oh, was it? So when you said I smelled poor, that was a joke too?" "Stop, I said it was a joke." Justina's panic was anything but ordinary. "Hey, Justina, did you really say that to Michelle? That's not something you can just joke about." "It's not like that. We were drinking, and it was just the mood from our school days." Justina tried to desperately smooth things over. "So was it also just the mood when you sabotaged my family by setting my dad up with another woman?" My cold voice froze the atmosphere. "What did you just say?" Even Drake's voice was trembling. "I will pursue. Justina has been targeting me since school, making my life miserable. Because of her, my family fell apart, and I had to drop out of high school." "Is this true?" Drake looked uneasy. "Drake, it's not like that. Yes, Michelle's dad did run off with another woman, but I had nothing to do with it." "Really? You just confessed to me that you orchestrated the whole thing." "That was a joke. I couldn't possibly do something like that." Despite her attempts to cover it up, Drake was visibly shaking with anger. "As I said, this isn't something you can just joke about. Apologize to Michelle right now." "Drake!" Drake interrupted Justina's excuses. "Michelle, I'm really sorry for the discomfort Justina has caused you at this reunion. Justina, apologize properly." I'm sorry." Seeing their reactions, I looked at Damien for guidance. "Well, both of you, the comments were indeed inappropriate, but perhaps the alcohol got the best of you. You've apologized, so, Michelle, can we let this go?" "If Damien says so." "Thank you, Damien. Michelle." Drake looked like he was about to cry. Justina wouldn't even look our way. Was she struggling to contain her anger?
Why don't we go check out some Dio clothing? I think we have something that would suit Justina.
Justina's face lit up. She's a perfectly fine person.
Really? Right now? Is that okay? We're past closing time, but it's our shop, so it's fine.
And so we found ourselves in a special room on the second floor of the D.O. flagship store.
Justina, why don't you try something on here? Drake, would you like to see our new collection? Michelle will show you.
Neither of them had any idea this was a trap.
How does it look?
Alone with Damien in the fitting room, Justina flirtatiously asked.
It suits you perfectly. It's like it was made for you.
Damien whispered into her ear.
Oh, you're good at this. I'm flattered.
Justina moved closer.
How about dinner sometime? Would that be for the four of us? Oh, I wouldn't mind if it's just the two of us. That wouldn't be fair to Drake, would it? I don't care about Drake. He's nowhere near as charming or successful as you.
Justina had completely fallen into our trap.
Just like Michelle said.
Damien signaled that it was time to reveal the truth.
What?
Justina was stunned. At that moment, Drake and I entered the fitting room. Justina, clearly startled, quickly moved away from Damien, but it was obvious they had been close. Ignoring that, I said, "You look great in that outfit, although it's a total fail as a product."
What? A fail?
It's flashy but lacks elegance. I've decided it's not up to the D.O. brand standards, but it really suits you.
How rude! And what do you mean you've decided?
I'm the person in charge of the D.O. brand.
What? You're in charge? Michelle, poor as she is in charge of a famous brand? You must be joking.
Justina was so shocked that she forgot who was around her and started yelling. That's when Drake shouted,
"The one who's lost it is you!"
Drake's yell echoed throughout the room.
Drake! How dare you! Everything you did in school was true, and now you're brazenly trying to seduce Damien? What? What are you talking about?
I approached the flustered Justina and showed her my phone screen.
A call?
Her eyes turned from dots to lines. Drake and I heard your entire conversation with Damien. Justina paled even more as I continued. I've heard about your bad behavior with men since high school, stealing other people's boyfriends and dumping them. Seeing you today, I knew you'd do the same.
You tricked me! You said it was all settled and led me on.
Justina seemed to want to say she was seduced by Damien.
That's a misunderstanding. Isn't it natural to complain and entertain our guests?
Damien calmly replied.
Exactly. I clearly heard Justina trying to seduce Damien and insulting me. But setting this up as a trap isn't fair.
Now's my chance for payback. Remember what you told me? Even if I started it, you're the one who took the bait. If you're going to blame someone, blame yourself. I threw her own words back at her. She was red-faced and speechless.
Damien, Michelle, I'm really sorry for all this. I'll make it up to you later.
Drake apologized deeply and grabbed Justina's arm.
Get ready for a divorce.
What? Wait, Drake, wait! As Justina's voice faded, Damien and I exchanged smiles. A few days later, Drake came over to apologize and fill me in on what happened next. Justina had apparently begged him not to divorce her, crying her eyes out, but it turned out she had multiple affairs, leading to the divorce being finalized. She even turned to their adult children for support, but they had known about her infidelity for a while and decided to cut ties with her. Desperate, she reached out to her family and siblings, only to be told that they didn't need a disgrace in their prestigious family, and she was turned away. She sought help from her circle of friends, but no one was willing to lend a hand now that she was broke. She's also being sued for infidelity, and her savings won't last long. As for what kind of impoverished life Justina will lead from now on, I couldn't care less. And as for us, Damien, we've got messages from Caroline.
Oh, they came in?
The messages were filled with updates and seemed cheerful. There were also lots of pictures attached.
It's good to see her surrounded by nice people.
Miss Hannah is in the pictures too. Our daughter Caroline is spending her college summer break doing a homestay in England. And guess what? She's staying at my old mentor Miss Hannah's house. This handsome young man is Miss Hannah's grandson and a classmate of Caroline's. They seem to get along. Damien seemed a bit uneasy as I happily shared this.
I might have to make a business trip to England next week.
Wait, isn't that abusing your position?
It's for work.
Then maybe I should set up an appointment with Miss Hannah to research everyday fashion in England.
That's too specific.
We both laughed. There's no such thing as a wasted experience in life. I remembered the words Miss Hannah once told me and realized that our current happiness exists because of our past struggles. No matter what happens in the future, we'll keep that in mind and keep moving forward.